Starfield is coming out in 2 months. And it might not be as good as you think it is. And everybody is asking the same question, the same way the ancient philosophers asked back in the golden age. Is this game going to be actually good, or this is going to be another case of
16 times the detail?
Today I am going to rank what I think is the most important when it comes to Starfield, given what we have out so far. And I'm going to give examples jumping back to old games of Bethesda, or I should say the best games that Bethesda has made. I think, in my opinion, the best RPG game they've made is Fallout New Vegas, and that's because Obsidian made this game. And then you have Skyrim, and then you have Fallout 4, which is not looking very good. I'm a big Fallout fan, but Fallout 4, oh boy, they've done you dirty. So is Starfield going to actually be good? If we look historically back to the last releases of Bethesda, we have Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. Fallout 4 was a very mediocre, very average RPG. Nobody remembers anything about it. And then Fallout 76, you don't really want me to talk about it. It's just a really bad experience. So let's talk about Starfield. I've watched every single trailer that came out a year ago, and I've watched the trailers that came up a few days ago, and I have a bunch of things to say. First of all, those are the 5 things on which I am going to rank in the end of the video Starfield. I'm going to give examples and compare Starfield in the end with Skyrim and Fallout New Vegas, which are the best RPG games Bethesda has made. First thing that I think is the most important to me when it comes to a Bethesda game is number 1, replayability. Replayability is the reason why after 10 years of Skyrim, people always come back and keep making new characters, they follow new builds, they have new playthroughs, and then you have Fallout New Vegas that every time you play the game it's even better when it comes to replayability than Skyrim. You always do things like 10 years after Fallout New Vegas release, I keep finding out about new quests, new dialogues, actually crazy how good replayability most of the Bethesda games have is what keeps you playing them over and over again. Then we have gameplay. Gameplay is very important to have. The problem with Oblivion and Morrowind, they have all of the elements of what I'm going to describe next in the video, but their gameplay, it's actually horrible. Like Morrowind and Oblivion's, I'm sorry to say, gameplay, combat and everything, it just feels like a fever dream. Then we have the RPG elements, which a very good example of that is Fallout New Vegas. I mean, that goes for everything, classes, builds, different dialogues, choices mattering, pretty much everything that makes an RPG game an RPG game. And then we have 2 more parameters, which is the depth of the game, like how much depth the game actually has when it comes to building your character or your choices, or let's say some combat mechanics, the vastness of the world and the choices and the late builds and pretty much everything. Like Oblivion and Morrowind have a lot of depth into it, so does Skyrim and so does Fallout New Vegas. Depth is what makes you critical think about the game. And lastly we have what Bethesda is most known for, and that's performance and bugs.
And one of the great things about having a fully dynamic game engine is all of this just works. It's not, I'm not kidding.
Very important in my opinion, but maybe the least important. If you have all of the 4 things working properly, people usually don't care about this one. You can look all of the Bethesda titles that had this before. I'm putting in the last because I think it's extremely important your game actually running and you are actually able to play the game with more than 30 FPS without the game crashing. I'm looking at you, Fallout New Vegas. How important is to have a game that is performing well without that many bugs. Now let's start ranking this game. For replayability, given what I've watched so far, this is what we've got. Weapon mod system, a system where you can actually update your weapons, put different barrels, different mags, the way you use your weapons, it can actually impact the gameplay. You can make it where you shoot things and they freeze out, you can make where you shoot things and they explode. The modding system when it comes to weapons, Bethesda said is the best and the most vast they have done in all of their games combined. Then we have the settlement creation, which is similar to Fallout 4, you can build your own settlements, have your own base, have your followers live in that base and run things. Very similar to Fallout, I will imagine. And given how many planets are there, kinda cooler to have those, but we have that as well. Third, we have the character creation, and we actually have, after so many games, Trais returning to the game where they will impact choices and they will make it where you can select specific interaction, specific dialogue options. You can have different dialogues, different builds. Then we have more dialogues and more choices when it comes to every NPC similar to Fallout New Vegas from what I understood. They give you different options, so you can always have something different to do or different ways to do specific quests. Skyrim even does have that, so we have that as well. Then we have the new spaceship creation overhaul, which looks pretty cool actually, and many people are very impressed with this feature. I see myself spending hundreds of hours just to build the perfect mecha. I will try to build something straight up from Power Rangers that looks completely unorthodox, but again, have I forgotten something? Oh yeah, you guys can remind me about this. Todd has sold us the same mythical tale of the 16 times the detail,
4 times the size of Fallout 4.
That for instance there is going to be over 1,000 systems, over 1,000 planets, I'm sorry, for you to explore. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a more of a quality over quantity type of guy. I don't want to talk too much about this, but the idea is, I will imagine in my primitive mind that Starfield, like every Bethesda game so far, they're very well known for the size, no puns intended. Like Bethesda is always making super big games, and Starfield looks like to be the biggest game they made so far. So having a really big world, and you can explore pretty much different things every time. You will always have something to explore and do. I think that also adds to the replayability. And lastly, we have the whole companion, different system where you're gonna have romance with some companions, different quests for companions, similar to, again, to Fallout New Vegas or in Skyrim, I guess, like Serana, for instance, in Skyrim. Having your companions to run your ship or run your settlements. Then we have some space combat. The idea is that we have so many features, and it looks like they put lots of effort into the game or building those things that I've mentioned here, that I think replayability is safe to say that I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. I think Fallout New Vegas, for comparison, it easily has a 10 out of 10, and Skyrim around a 9, I would say. I expect Starfield to be not as good as Skyrim and Fallout New Vegas when it comes to replayability, meaning that you won't have that many reasons to replay the game versus Skyrim and Fallout New Vegas, but it's good enough, I believe, for the most people, including me, to keep coming back and keep replaying this game over and over again. So having an 8 when it comes to that, I think most of the people will put hundreds of hours, if not thousands of hours into the game, which I think it's good, it's a pass. Let's look through the gameplay now. The gameplay, honest to God guys, from what I've seen, and again if you haven't watched the videos, it looks like the best gameplay they have done so far. One of the reasons, and I'm gonna give you two extremes here, people used to love and still love Fallout 4 with all of the modding you can do. The gameplay of Fallout 4 feels really good. Gun shooting, running, looting around. I'm not speaking about RPG elements or anything like that, purely the gameplay of the game feels really good. And then we have the extreme of Oblivion and Morrowind gameplay, looking like me at 4 AM trying to record a video. Absolutely horrible. I love those games, but the gameplay is really bad, how combat and everything works. Starfield looks really good. If you see some of the footage they shown, it feels dynamic, feels like you have control, and it's very impactful everything you do. Every time you shoot, you're going to have different gravity for every single planet. Shooting is going to make you fall backwards if you're flying, dependent of the weapon. If you're using a laser rifle, you won't have as much recoil. If you're using a ballistic weapon, you're gonna be falling back. The gameplay, when it comes to purely the gameplay, flying your ship, fighting pirates, fighting space pirates, fighting wildlife and aliens, just shooting and killing things, playing as a melee, the gameplay honestly looks like the best gameplay they've done, and I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10. Now that's for a Bethesda game, of course. If I have to rank Skyrim for its gameplay, I will put it an 8 out of 10, and if I had to rank Fallout New Vegas for its gameplay, I will put a 7 out of 10, so Starfield is way above that. Now let's go for the RPG elements. You cannot have a good Bethesda game without RPG elements. Fallout 4 did not have many, if not any at all. Skyrim had many of those, and so did Fallout New Vegas. So when it comes to looking at Starfield, from what we've seen so far, we have the different character customization options like trades or different jobs. We have the different talent trees and builds up, which also unlock specific interactions that you have to choose. For instance, you can be a scientist that can mind control different bugs or aliens, and you can always go for good at everything but excels at nothing type of build. All of the builds in Starfield, from what I've seen so far looking at the talent trees, I'm going to call them like that, or how you have the dialogues with specific NPCs, specific events play, like they have random events playing here and there. For a space game, I think the RPG elements, I don't think they're going to be on Fallout New Vegas type of level, because there is no way, given how big Starfield is going to be, to have that many of those. But I think it's going to have many good enough to be better than Fallout 4. If I had to rank the RPG elements from Starfield, it will be something around a 6, maybe a 7. I'm going to give it a 6.5. If I had to rank Skyrim for its RPG elements, I will give it a 7 with 7.5, something slightly above Starfield. If I had to rank Fallout New Vegas, that will be a 10 out of 10. So is Starfield looking promising to me when it comes to the RPG elements? Not really, to be honest with you. I don't think that's a pass. However, it looks better than Fallout 4, but it's above the average, and I think in the end of the day, the Starfield's RPG elements are going to be just average, which is good enough to have a nice pack, if I may, for a good game. I don't think they're going to be over the top or something to lose your mind over it. Then let's go to the depth of the game. So the game comes throughout the different mechanics or the different things you can do and how much you can, let's say, dig this iceberg into the game. Sadly, until we play the game, we don't have much of an opinion on this when it comes to Starfield. I remember in Skyrim, when you put points into the restoration tree, there was a talent that it will make your spells be twice as strong on undead targets. So if you actually became a vampire, that meant you were an undead. Henceforth, all of your restoration spells, they will be almost twice as strong. That is a very good example of having depth, and Fallout New Vegas and Skyrim are doing an amazing job on that. I'm not very sure how this will come out in Starfield, but given how some of the mechanics work, like the different weapon modes and how those can impact the gameplay or the combat, how some of the different talent trees and character paths you can take, or how the piloting system works, it looks like a complex system with you having 5 things you have to accelerate and choose when it comes to riding a ship. It feels like Starfield is having a good amount of depth for a Bethesda game. So if I have to rank games, I will put Skyrim with a 9 out of 10, I will put Fallout New Vegas, I think around an 8, and Starfield looks like maybe a 7, maybe something less. I'm going to give it a 7. Again, I don't think Starfield is going to have much more depth than Fallout, New Vegas or Skyrim. I don't think so. However, I think, and that's my point of the video, it's going to be better than Fallout 4, because Fallout 4 was a disaster. I think it's way above the average, and given how Bethesda, with more of the games they make, coming back all the way from Fallout 3 to Fallout 4, or from Morrowind into Skyrim, I think the more games they release and they modernize their engine, the less of that we are getting. So I'm not very excited about depth if you're someone who is looking too much into it. Lastly, performance and bugs. Again, we have no idea about that until we play the game. We know it's a Bethesda game, it's going to have many bugs, I guarantee you that, and I am putting FPS issues and performance into the bugs, and I want to note 2 things here. First of all, people are saying, myself included, if you go and watch the trailers, we're having FPS stutter issues. You can actually see the game not running with more than 20 FPS in most of the times. Now, to counter defend that, as much as I would like to hate on it, they're using full 4K textures, and most of those showcases when it comes to those type of games using 4K resolution, they usually run with 24 FPS, meaning that you playing Starfield in your PC with the best settings, I will imagine, down to 2K, you're gonna have much more resolution from what you just saw. Now, if you play from a console, like you're going to play on Xbox, I believe that's going to look really bad, because there is no way Starfield runs with more than 30 FPS on those consoles. consoles, I'm sorry to say, which is a standard thing really. It was the same with Skyrim, it was even the same with Oblivion way back then, and the same with Fallout New Vegas. I believe when it comes to the PC, it's going to run very smooth, but I don't think we're gonna have the 60 FPS performance. If I have to place a bet for PC port, I will say that we're getting maybe around 50 FPS, kinda everywhere we go, until we get so much to fix most of those. When it comes to most of the textures from the Starfield, they look really nice. However, if you go and look at the character creation, some of the beards you have and things like that, they look absolutely horrendous. And you have to understand, Bethesda is very well known to have some really bad textures. Skyrim had some horrible textures, Fallout New Vegas had some really bad ones, and Fallout 4 had so many bad textures that they were actually destroying even the best PC possible because they were horribly ported. The best mods for Fallout 4 is 3 series of mods that they completely turned the performance on the textures. So I am very skeptical about the performance when it comes to the graphics, to all of those type of things in Starfield, given what we've seen so far. The graphics look amazing for Starfield. It looks like they have done the best job when it comes to lighting, the terrain, pretty much everything, and given that you are playing a space game and we don't have that much grass or trees, aside from very few planets, that's gonna have a very big impact on performance, which is a good thing. Now when it comes to bugs, that's the second thing I've wanted to talk about. They've said that they work throughout the Xbox producers very hard on it. It's going to have the least amount of bugs from any other Bethesda title. Now, if you take the size of the game, which it looks to me like it's going to be 5 or 6 times the size of Skyrim, I think it's going to have a lot of bugs. Do they take a percentage of the bugs given how big the game is, or it's like a straight number? Because I think it comes with a percentage. If you have, let's say, 1,000 bugs in the Skyrim's world, and then you have 1,000 bugs in Starfield, and you take this by percentage, given how big the game is, yes, Starfield is going to have lesser bugs. What if Starfield has 10 times the bugs of Skyrim, but given the size, it looks like the same, if not less? You know what I'm saying? Bethesda is very well known for having bugs into their game, and it took me way too long for this last section. I'm going to give a Starfield a 5 out of 10. I'm sorry guys, but that's not a pass from me. I don't think Starfield is going to run smoothly until we get some good mods, and that's my take on it, given what I've seen so far, and given the fact that Bethesda never fixes bugs, instead it gives it to the community to fix it for them. I'm sorry, but I'm very pissed and very unimpressed with Bethesda. 10 plus years of Skyrim, we still have issues when it comes to performance that modders keep coming out with solutions. I just made a video a few days ago of someone fixing finally the dual casting bug and glitch that persisted in Skyrim for more than 10 years. It's going to be the same thing for Starfield, and it's going to be really bad given how big the game is. I expect honestly the worst, and that's my last scores pretty much. We're having an average of 6.9. I swear to God, I did not expect this number to be like that, which is kinda funny actually. But that's my last score for Starfield. The game is gonna be great. I think both you and me, we're going to have a blast with this game, but I want to be very realistic and offer the truth. Everybody looks so hyped about Starfield that nobody actually addresses some of the negatives. This is what hype does. It makes people irrational when it comes to judging down situations like those. So 6.9, I think it's not going to be as good as Skyrim. In the end of the day, what 6.9 means on average to me means that Starfield is going to be way better than Fallout 4, way better. It's going to be an actual good game. Have in mind that most of the Bethesda games are average games, or games that are above average, if that makes sense. They're just way too big, they have way too much of those elements I've ranked that they just feel really good. It is thanks to modding and thanks to all of the great work Bethesda have done with those games that they flourish into the games we know nowadays. I think it's very close to Skyrim. So if anything, if Starfield is going to be as good as Skyrim, I think we're gonna have an amazing series or games that people would love, modders will make mods about it, and it's going to be an amazing game. Maybe I was too strict about it, but you guys can let me know what you think. That was my ranking and my overall opinion when it comes to Starfield. Let me know what you think. Are you excited for Starfield? Can you not wait about it? Are you skeptical like me? Do you agree with my rating, or what do you think about? Thank you for watching guys, as always. Stay safe, it was nice to see you, and until next time, goodbye.